The running joke in a lot of car forums and even with the motorcycle forum is, what does this hose go to? This hose is not these hoses, so in this case we do have a legitimate concern today. What does this hose go to? Well, I know what it goes to. I actually cut it so I could get it resized, but it had a split end and it came off. And some of you guys might be hearing a whistling noise, like a exhaust leak almost. It's probably this pipe not being all the way on. Maybe it's got a split in the rubber. What's really interesting is, you know, you want the fitting to be just a little bit bigger than the pipe, but fitting on the tank's a lot bigger. And so I noticed it's starting to split, and I figured as soon as I get home I'd fix it. And it finished splitting before I could even get home and came off. Made a lot of noise. And my MPGs dropped by 30 miles per gallon. See that? Right there? That's where that hose goes. That hose right there. I have a line that's the original size that I got Advance Auto, and I have a line that's a little bit bigger. I like Advance Auto because I bought hoses from other places and they have dry rotted really quick. And when it happens to fuel line, that creates fuel leaks that are a mess. So Advance, until they start changing out their rubbers and using something inferior, so far they've been doing all right by me. We'll see if they last as long as factory, which you can get about 15 to 20 years in Texas heat on factory rubbers mostly. But in this case, this feels and looks a lot like the rubber that is on the bike. This is the exact same size hole. I was just forced on there, nice tight squeeze. Problem is eventually when it dries a little, it starts to crack until it just comes off. And I think that's what other people are hearing when they're saying they have an exhaust leak. That's what it sounded like to me until it just completely came off. Fortunately, in my case, it all happened in one ride, so that way it wasn't too long. Where some of you guys, if you're driving with it, your miles per gallon or power might go down. It might be not regulating your engine in a safe way that could harm your engine. So I could just cut that in and slip it back on, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this fits it a little bit better, since it's a little bit bigger. I still want it on there tight, I just don't want it so tight that it's going to crack open. So this piece right here, what I'm going to do is, since it's just going from small all the way up to big, I'm just going to cut off the right sizes off this little end here, and not use this whole piece, but rather just you know, an end of it to connect a small to large, and then use the large to fit to the bike, so I don't have this issue again. Alright, so you can see here, small end plus the next notch I took off. It's just a small little chunk. In the small, it's a little tight, a little loose on the smaller end. In the big, I had to force on, same as on the bike, so the same issue could occur where it splits, except for the hose, because it's bigger, it also has a bigger rubber wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and force that all the way on. The rubber will be thicker, less likely to give under the heat, at least not anytime soon. And then what I can do is I can wrap this in tape. I'll probably just use an electrical tape once I end up pushing these two rubber hoses all the way together. They both have a nice tight seal, so the tape's not to create the seal, but rather to protect the rubber from any heat that would cause it to deteriorate. And it's just got an aspirin bottle. Aspirin's plastic, and so it's not going to mess up my paint or dent my tank. And then I have a microfiber cloth to protect it further, and that gets me up in here. So let me zoom in. So you see that right there, center screen. That's where I need to hook up that hose, okay? And that should fix my issue, and hopefully some of y'all's as well. Right, now you can see that I pushed the hose up all the way flush. I didn't use any tools, used my hands. Even with a slightly bigger hose, this was an incredibly hard fit. It took a lot of hand strength to get it up, but it's gonna hold, and it'd be less likely to split. I wanted to cover the whole stem because it is plastic, and so by covering the stem, it helps shelter it from heat and aging. Not that air's probably not hot and causing it to age, but I just mean just in general when it's even sitting even. See, it comes out here. Took off the smaller hose because I'm going to obviously hook up the bike's smaller hose to it, This is going to be tucked behind this bracket. I don't want the tank potentially crimping this hose. So it's going to go behind the bracket so it doesn't hang down, so there's not too much slack. I'm going to consider just zip tying it to the inside here. And like I said, I'm going to end up wrapping these two connections in tape. So now, I really like 3M's electrical tape because it doesn't flare up, but all I could find was some blue tape that I use for kind of color coding stuff when I'm working on it. So this is going to work. It's not going to go anywhere in a really long time. I just don't like it when the ends start to pill up. So if it does start to pill up, next time I'm in here for my spark plugs, it's not like it would be compromised. I could probably go a really long time. Like I'm talking 100,000 miles before I would need to touch this up. That's a phone ringing. But anyways, so what I'm gonna end up doing is I'll replace this with 3M down the road if it starts to peel on the edges when I'm doing spark plugs.